We're now ready for our next session. The title of the next session is India Leads Big Data Analytics Maturity Model AI Standardization Work with ISO. For that, I'd like to welcome on stage Mr. Gautam Banerjee, President, Data Science Foundation. He will introduce the topic, and to follow up will be Mr. Sridhar Shukumar. I'd welcome him onto the stage, please, also. Okay. I think.
Hello. Yeah. Yeah. So actually, the timing is good because just now Mindra came and called out the key highlights of the survey that we conducted worldwide, and one of the things that was there was that among the success and the good stories that we have heard so many times, there are also challenges, right? And this standard that we are talking about is about challenges. It is about failures, and because we would not like something so exciting to fail. And the interesting thing is that because it's budding in nature, it's evolutionary at this stage. There is a lot of failures as well, and all the failures doesn't mean that AI, ML, or data science they do not work. It's not like that. But then there are aspects. I think what Vineet was asking, saying that. His experience says that, in the industry, a lot of times because of the lack of connect, people do not understand easily, saying that how do I leverage, these kind of algorithms and frameworks to help the business. So that's where, there are a lot of failure modes, and the standard is about that. So we'll quickly, the time is less, so I'm at mercy of the MC here. So I'll try to cut it short, but overall opportunities, business challenges, what are the key tenets, and at an organization level as well as a project level, and then Sridhar is going to come on dais and talk about the current status and the future roadmap. So 2011 was the first time when the McKinsey report on big data came out in public, and that was a big thing. Whenever McKinsey comes out with a new report, there is a lot of noise around it, and a lot of biggies of the world and a lot of people follow them, right? And that was the age of big data. The other giants started following that, saying that everything is going to change, and big data is going to revolutionize the world, right? The way businesses work, and that is true because that is true as we have seen in so many use cases since morning. So starting from media. To finance, to a lot of other cases that we have heard. It is actually giving us disproportionate benefits of what we have achieved by using normal IT and other things. However, I think one of the key things is that how is it different than IT? Almost more than 50%, and here I've got. Sheila out there, we have got Vineet, we have got so many other speakers like Joy, we have got Poulomi, we have got people from IBM, HSBC. But we believe that 50% of these initiatives are actually taken care by the IT people, because it comes quite naturally that information system departments has been the custodian of the data. You have got Oracle, Sybase, what BMS, SAP, CRMs of the world out there, and the data is sitting in IT systems and infrastructure. So it's quite a natural extension that these companies will actually, or these portfolios, these roles will handle the entire decision-making implementation of data science world, right? So that's where it comes that while that is true, many a times, most of the people who have worked in IT may not have dealt with certain aspects of data science. Never in their past, never. So what are the aspects? Have you ever heard of a project in IT which comes on board as a proposal, as an RFP, and someone, largest or the smallest of the vendors, say that it is just impossible to do it? It is always doable, right? Instead of 6 months, it is going to take 2 years of time, and maybe instead of $500,000, it's going to take $1.5 million. But I have, at least in my 20 years of in the industry, I have never heard that for an IT spec, a vendor is coming and saying that it is just not possible, or we do not know whether it's going to be possible or not. However, when you come to data science, it's 50-50. You really do not know that whether you're going to be able to do successfully forecasting for a wind power plant with a guarantee. You can't. Why? Because the first thing that should be asked is that it's not about forecasting, it's not about techniques, or whether I'm using ARIMA, or I'm using a MA, or I'm using a single exponential method, or I'm going to using a neural network method. But the point is that I do not know what kind of accuracy I'm going to get. So if I get a 74% accuracy, if I get a 84% accuracy, it may be good, it may be bad. I am not being able to hear you. No, so that's the method, so we'll come to that. My point is that when you are getting a project, you have no way of giving that commitment saying that this project will be successfully done. Test data accuracy, validation sets, all these are part of the different phases of the life cycle. But I'm saying beginning of the project, when you are at an RFP stage, proposal stage, even if it's a captive center, you have to spin off projects, right? So where do you get the assurance from? And it also depends on what kind of lag is there for the forecasting. Are you forecasting it for tomorrow, or are you forecasting it for a month? And what's the lag? So are you forecasting for a day a month before, or are you forecasting for a month a day before? All these factors will impact your accuracy, correct? So it's not as deterministic as IT has always been. And many pre-sales guys who are handling now analytics, data science, and AI doesn't even understand that. And the core guys behind this thing, and we get frustrated with them, saying that, what do you commit? I do not know, because I have to get the data, do a diligence for 3 months of time, and then only I can commit, right? So it's not deterministic. It's a lot of uncertainty. It's not project based. It's research based. Many a times you do research, and then you figure out of 10 things or 5 things which is going to work. I was really, I felt happy when Ujjaini was presenting for Z5 when she said that we are doing a lot of experiments. And that's the right word in data science and AI. Unless and until you actually have the courage and the guts to do experiments, you cannot figure out that, okay, you can do this project or not. And then it's not errors. So we are all aware of the errors in IT world, but they are not errors here anymore. There are false positives, there are false negatives, there are like sensitivity, there's specificity, there's a lot of other things, right? And then it's no more, I'm not trying to oversimplify that, so pardon me if you think that I'm doing it, I'm not. But I'm saying it's not insert, update, delete anymore, because information technology, from my parlance, however complicated the business tools may be, end of the day you give information, you retrieve information, you delete information. And the retrieval and delete or giving information may not be as easy as I mean to say. But here we are talking about predictive models, what's going to happen in future, right? So it's a different paradigm we are talking about. So it's no more about the complex business logic, but it's fuzzy logic. And fuzzy logic, this jargon, remains fuzzy for a lot of us. But one of the ways to figure out the difference is that I say, this is a simple case of fuzzy logic. So if I'm wearing a T-shirt which writes at the back that I shave people who do not shave themselves, if I'm a barber, right? So I shave people who do not shave themselves, and next day morning, tomorrow morning, when I shave myself and then wear that jacket and come to the barber shop, The question is that that statement that's written is true or false. That's fuzzy logic. And then, almost within 2 years of time, 2013, we started getting reports of failures. But yes, most of the seminars and events happening across the world, whether you go to London Excel, or you go to San Jose, or you go to Las Vegas, most of us talk about success, but the point is that there were a lot of failures behind. Lots of failures, and people who are into data science and AI, I mean, I've got Umang out there somewhere here sitting, who's working with Great West, we have got others here. I think we understand that there are a lot of failures. And starting from Forbes to Information Week to CIO, weekly magazines, we started getting these reports. And the point is that the normal analytics or the BI teams, this became very popular, saying that you basically say your MIS report team as a BI team, and then your BI team to be an analytics team, and then your analytics team into a big data team, irrespective of what they're using. Maybe they're using Cognos reports or Tableau, but that's not the case. If you really want to go to the moon, you just cannot afford to climb the tree. It's a different thing, right? So, so the point is that where do we start? How this can happen? And can I implement suddenly something just because the technology is available, right? So we are saying that okay, there must be some method behind the madness. So there are stages for an organization, for departments, for functions, to go through different maturity stages, and these are normal things. I'll not get into the details of it. It's you monitor your business, get some insights, start improving your process, and then we are saying that okay, when do you start monetizing the data itself as a service or new revenue models. We have discussed this in the morning. We have spoken about the Caterpillar case. I talk about the Geo case as well. When Geo came in India, it was free of cost. So you started, millions of people suddenly in one day started getting cell phone services free of cost, and that was a surprise to millions of us. And then I started hearing from many of the friends saying that okay, it has just started. Some within the next couple of months, they're going to charge you, and then maybe they're going to increase the tariff. And I'm telling you today, I cannot tell you why I'm telling you today. There are reasons which I cannot tell you, divulge, but I'm telling you that in recent future, maybe a couple of years down the line, you will see that Reliance is actually giving you a free service. It's going to be absolutely free. How? Because of the data. So understand a company which is launched. We all know the situation in the automobile industry. The last few weeks we are getting reports, there are finance ministry giving us statements and all that, and one company launches a new SUV, and in this kind of a competitive market, it's desperate to get the right audience. And Reliance Jio will be actually knowing that in the last 12 hours, I'm not even talking about 24 hours, Reliance Jio as a service provider will be knowing that in the last 12 hours, how many hundreds of thousands of people exactly who search for an SUV on their mobile. And that's the ad which is going to come up. And imagine if Reliance Jio charges them 1 paisa per push notification. That's huge, right? And that's all possible because of data. Now, so what are the problems if you do not have a roadmap? So what are we saying? We are saying that in general, with certain exceptions, that our organization, a function, a department should follow a roadmap, right? So we are saying don't jump into something if you just do have, try to go through some a path or a roadmap. And then the question is that what happens if I do not have a roadmap? So I'll give you one example because of lack of time. I do not know how much time is left. How much time is left? So I will just take one example of Indian Railways. This was basically a couple of years back, I think more than 4 years back, when Indian Railways, the CRIS, Center for Railway Information System department, rolled out an RFP saying that if someone wants to take a journey from point A to point B, give me some routing algorithm and all that. It will simply not work because the current operations excellence is not there. You do not have trains reaching on time living on time. So even if you give a brake journey option with all the timetables and everything, it's not going to work because the current system is not efficient, right? So you need to have certain stages of maturity to go there. So what are the key enablers? So we are saying that these are simple enablers. You have a lot of text which gives you different kind of structures, different kinds of pointers saying that where and how these elements are critical. Again, I'm not going to go through them. Data, enterprise, enterprise level projects, leadership, targets, and the skill sets. But then we think that these are important. So what are we doing? So basically, Sridhar is going to talk more about this. So we have come up with a process management framework. We are calling it analytics maturity framework, applicable for analytics, data science and AI, which is going to help the companies and organizations, go through some kind of a roadmap through an assessment to understand the opportunities and the gaps for these different tenets that we have discussed. And that can be across different functions and departments, right? So that's all we are saying. It's got a 5-part standard. Sridhar will call upon it. Now, couple of caveats. So that's at an organization level, and we are also talking about things at a project level, right? So, at a project level, when you are doing an AI project, many a times we are actually pretty much worried about the sample bias, and we all know what happened. And one popular example is Nikon. I think D3100 or some model that got launched in Japan, wherein they had a feature called as this eye blink. So if you click, your snap will not be taken when your eyes are closed, right? Now, it didn't work out there in Japan. You know why? Because when they built this AI and when they trained the algorithm, they have taken all Caucasians. So they didn't have in their sample set, in the training data set, people from Far East whose eyes are more thinner. So when the Japanese and the Thai and the Vietnamese people were blinking their eyes, the AI software couldn't catch that. So it failed. So there was sampling bias, and hence there's a lot of problems with reliability and bias and transparency, right? So we are saying that these are the tenets for, on one hand, performance, and on the other hand, sustainability for any AI project. You can have any one of these tenets, low in weightage, but then some way or the other, these tenets are important. So the integrity of the data, the baseline, definition, how do you stratify your data, model specs and evaluation, the failure correlation are all important from a performance perspective. And if you really want to sustain that over a long-term period, then first is reliability, second is transparency, and then bias. But most comprehensive will be human values. And why do I say so? Because of, let's take an example. So last year, month of October, couple of us from the task force of DSF who was working on the standard, we were called to the Google headquarters. And when we discussed, couple of projects out there in Google headquarters in month of October last year, we were discussing about these automated cars, and we all know that with so much of hype on automated cars. Now, do you know what's the stage that's in terms of phase or stage where these automations are happening? So right now, the intelligence systems within the car needs to decide which person to kill. Now, you did hear me. I said which person to kill, because all those other things of image cognition, speech recognition, integrating data with the signals, and the Google traffic, stop, take right, left, everything is done. Now one has to decide that when you are driving a car at 100 miles per hour, and then suddenly within 10 meters, if you see a child coming in with a ball coming from a park where he's playing, the car needs to decide what to be done. So if you need to put at this point in time brakes, you understand the implication of the brakes. 10 meters, 150 miles, 100 miles per hour. So if you really put brakes out there, and if someone in the back seat is carrying a child, there can be a death inside the car. If you do not, there can be an accident with the child who is on the street. And then if you decide to save both, what do? The only option is that you change the direction. 10 meters, 100 miles per hour, you change direction, putting onto the brakes. You're going to hit some pedestrians, right or wrong? And that's the decision. So human values are utmost important, right? We can't ignore that. And hence we came up with a framework which will be under the umbrella of the project, the organization framework, which is called as the AI self-assessment certifications. And these are all these tenets. I'll not get into the details. It's actually right now in the draft stage. The approval came in month of July from 16 countries, as I've said. We will now get 2.5 years to work on it. There will be 10 countries participating. And maybe in the next 2 years of time, we are going to get the ISO index number. But the certification looks like something like this, saying that do you have model specification, evaluation, integrity, stratification, baseline, transparency, decision-making oversights, and failure correlations? At what stage? What's the combination? And then there will be a self-certification, which will basically help you in getting these advantages. So you are getting a lot of transparency, trustworthiness. You understand the roadmap. You do have a very high level of risk management because you understand that at what level things are working, and hence you can have the right decision oversight systems. When is basically AI going to stop and decision oversight is going to happen and all that, right? So I will end my thing here. I will invite Sridhar. If you can read his profile a bit. Do you have his profile? Yeah. So Sridhar is going to conclude. Sridhar has got huge number of years of experience. He was vice president of Cognizant and has held a couple of positions in ISO. He's also worked on a different standard for the IT outsourcing. And he's contributing a lot onto the standard. So he's going to conclude saying that where are we in terms of ISO work, how did it proceed, where are we, and what's the future?